Hey, it's Time Community. I'm so happy to be with you. Only thing would make it better is if Dr. Jen was here too. I'm here in Southern California, and so we're still in this period where we're at different locations. But the work that Dr. Jen is doing at Canyon Ranch is so exciting. You have to hop on over there and take a look at the workshop that she's putting together in October and December. Some just fantastic female-focused longevity series that I am going to hop into. One, if not two, just to kind of refuel and charge. So I'm missing Dr. Jim, but I know we'll see her soon. I wanted to talk a little bit though today as we were thinking about what is the dialogue that's top of mind for both of us right now. It was around this idea of kind of end of summer and different seasons of life and how we relate to time and how we can think about relating to time with the science behind what to do to savor the things that are bringing us joy and fueling us, and then what can we do to diffuse it with authenticity, but to release the impact of things that are heavy and they're not serving us. It's not to deny those things, but it is to be able to find the balance between processing and releasing. And so, kind of the descriptor for this episode, we're calling How to Bend Time, mostly because of this lightweight candy show that my husband and I are watching, and everybody's a superhero in it. And we were thinking about which superpower would we want. And I was drawn to this idea of time bending, mostly because, again, this season of life where there's some just amazing moments that are bittersweet and nostalgic and beautiful, and I want to etch them and savor them. And then there's some really hard moments that I'm processing and I want to let go. And so it drove us to talk about the science between savoring what it is, how it's beneficial to us, and then how to actually do it in a practical way. And then the science behind diffusing or releasing. So that's, it's the neuroscience and the neuroplasticity that we're always excited to explore, but with a specific lens around how to relate to time and how to curate our relationship to time. So, in the spirit of savoring, I do want to explain my beautiful hairdo today because I am here in Southern California with our daughter, who is a rising senior. And so I am savoring time with her and taking a little quick girls' trip and feel so grateful to do it. And she is an amazing fashionista and was giving me some feedback on how to do different hairdos because apparently I don't really change it that often. And so this is a hairdo that I have to keep in my hair until after lunch today. So it will be coming out and maybe I can post what it looks like afterwards. But it was a braiding exercise where you have to sleep in it and let it sit in the morning after your workout, which I've just done. I'm wearing my Lift Heavy pet dog shirt, compliments of our dear friend Allie Dittmer. And so I am savoring the time with her and I'm going to savor this hairdo afterwards. So let me just jump right into it. There are kind of 5 scientific levers that we wanted to draw our attention to when we think about the science of savoring. I think we all know what the word means, to kind of slow down, to enjoy, and to appreciate what it is in that current moment. But one of the things that is really interesting about the art of savoring is it is highest impact when you do it in the present moment. So nostalgia is, savoring a memory, and that is positive as well. And we'll talk about reframing memories and how to kind of savor the good parts of them and hold on to those and hold them close into our psychology. And then anticipation, which is looking forward in the future, savoring the future, also positive. I think that's one of the reasons why I never really want a surprise party, because I like to count down to good things. I like to know it's coming and savoring that. So that is a positive energy driver for all of us. But really, the skill of savoring it in the moment is the one we're talking about because it has the highest benefit and tie out to the positive metrics in life that we look at for thrival and longevity. So, number one is really think of it as a present tense action, savoring. But then, secondly, when you think about the savoring and the science behind it, it is framed as a skill. So it's not just, oh, hey, I feel happy right now. I feel that way. I'm savoring it. It is more active. It is like, I'm sitting in this garden. I'm seeing these beautiful flowers. I'm going to savor their look, their scent. I'm trying to actively etch it in my mindset. That's the skill set behind savoring. So there's a nuance to just gratitude and appreciation, which we talk a lot about. The nuance with savoring is you're actively pausing and you physically, like think of it as I'm changing my sensory base right now. I'm physically pausing, I'm engaging, and then you're etching that into your mindset. And so think of it as a skill, not just a feeling. So it is in the present tense, it is a skill. And then the third reason to kind of dig into this how to is that the science I think it's hard in the last 2 years not to have heard this analogy like 10 times in our collective media psychology, but we are wired for a negativity bias. The analogy we've all heard is, if there was like a saber-toothed tiger hiding out, we had to be looking for it. So we're looking for the bad to try to survive. And that's just the way we are wired. And it shows up in a lot of modern day contexts, right? You look in your academic environments, you're often trying to fix the problem, rewrite this essay, redo it. You're trying to, in a corporate context or a professional context, you're often trying to figure out what the problem is in the business so that you can fix it and grow, or what the problem is in the process so you can get faster and get it done. Or in the medical context, somebody's sick, you're trying to fix it. So there's every kind of different filter in our professional lives where much of our focus is on what is wrong, how to improve it. And that is it's a good trait. That's not a horrible trait to go through life, because we're in this cycle of improvement, and that's how society moves forward, and individually we move forward. So we want to embrace that and make peace with it, but also realize that the negativity bias inherently will bring us down and to focus on things that are wrong. So when you're trying to create a sense of positivity, which we're going to talk about that as the fourth scientific lever and all the benefits it has, you have to actively do it. And savoring is the way to balance that negativity bias with a positive load so that you get your net weight on the positive side. So the fourth reason around the science of savoring is that scientific data set, and we've shared it in a myriad of contexts, but let's remind ourselves here: having an actively curated positive mindset, authentic positive mindset, not a Pollyanna, everything's fine, I'm just not looking at it mindset, but actively trying to find a way to frame it in the positive, does drive longevity with the health aspect, not just longevity with the chronological aspect, but drives longevity, health span. It builds your immune system, builds your financial payoff and your professional payoff. And as Dr. Jen reminds us all the time, the number one input into your healthy longevity and thrival is your sleep, right? Your sleep. And so sleep is connected to having had the balance of positive emotions and physiological impressions in your day to day. So think of the scientific reason for focusing on savoring is tied to thriving and feeling great now and in the long haul, which is what we talk about all the time. But the components of that are your relationships, your financial health, your physical health, your sleep. All of that is amplified by savoring actively in the present tense. And then kind of the last reason is thinking about amplifying and building on what you're savoring by sharing it. So, you know, we also talk a lot about how important community and relationships are. A component of savoring that you can get, two for one out of is when you share the good with your friends, with your family, or even with your journal. Like you actively write it down and share it. So some of the practical, applications of this, I'm seeing a lot right now because one of our kiddos is a golfer, a very passionate and interested golfer, and so much of that game is mindset, and so much of the mindset coaching is around teaching the athletes to remember their good shots and release their bad shots, and do it in the round, do it in the practice. But it is such a hard thing to do. But to create your positive, for the golfers, they talk about it, your positive shot reel, but think about it in your life. Like when things went well, create that movie clip and start to thread it together in your life is creating your savoring cinema. So we'll talk now from the here's the science of it to the practical how to. So the savoring cinema is one of those ideas, is trying to come up with things that you attach to when you're feeling anxiety or you're feeling stress, is to remember your positivity reel of what you've enjoyed and what you've savored. It can be the smell of a cup of coffee, it could be a great meal shared, it could be a song that you loved, it could be a dance party you had with your kids, with your friends. So create those and amplify them and build your own savory cinema. The other kind of practical how to is just to check in and, call it 3 times a day. Give yourself the active cue to pause and savor something good right then. Savor the way the wind feels on your face, savor the way the light is coming through the window. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. Savor, the conversation you're having with your good friend, or the text you just got that made you smile. But go and actively look for something and load it in your visual. If you can, bring the sensory sentiment to it as well, the smell, the feel of the wind, the sounds that you were hearing, and load that moment as a positive one that you are savoring. The second way, we talked about it with the science of capitalizing, is to build a way in to share. So if I stay with that golf analogy, one of the things I'm trying to encourage our son to do is to tell me when he's had a good shot. Like, just send me a text, so you got a birdie on that hole. That's fantastic. Or when you finish the round, regardless of how you feel about the round, I want to hear the three things that went really well. And the idea there is to help your loved ones or your friends etch that in their own mindset around and their savoring cinema, and also amplify it by capitalizing and sharing it with you. And then you also get the residual benefit of basking in someone's positivity. So there is a 360 cycle on this idea of reliving it and sharing it with others. It's helping you etch it, and then it's also helping reflect positivity for them. The idea of savoring it with your senses. So if you pick those three moments, I'm going to come back and just underscore that. Keep it in mind each time you can attach all five of your senses to one of those moments you're savoring, you're getting a kicker. So try it, play with it. How did I feel with that cozy blanket while I was sitting next to my daughter watching a movie with a face mask? What did it smell like when I had that face mask on? What could I hear with the fire crackling? Or, what was the visual of the candlelight dancing on the ceiling? So just, taking the time to build your own sensory awareness muscles while you're seeding that positivity of the savoring cinnamon. And then the kind of last way to think about it in terms of your community and your relationships is to proactively find something that you want to savor in the relationship. And so this can work a ton in a work context or a family context when you're building relationships, is to surface and excavate the things that you authentically have enjoyed in the either relationship or the exchange, or kind of how they're going through their day to day, and etch it in your mind and cause the savoring kind of skill set to embed that positivity to build the relationship that you're trying to create, or maybe re-steer if you've been in a kind of a challenging one and it's one you want to re-steer. That can be a tactic for you to help do that. So all of those are ways that you can build the savoring muscle. And as with all of the things we test and we talk about with our prototyping habit, try what works for you. Try a skill around savoring, try a tactic, and see what feels authentic to you, and then mix it up. Variety is kind of the way to repattern different neural networks, is to change the way you're going into them, as well as reinforcing those neural networks by repetition. So play with that variety and kind of extend that web of the savoring skill set in your savoring cinema. So you think about bending time. The idea of savoring is to extend the sense of time in your relationship with time for the things that are genuinely, authentically fueling you and serving you. And then the flip side of that is how to release or diffuse the things that maybe are not. And the caveat to this and the public service announcement for this always is, this is with an authentic lens. So we don't suppress things that are hard. We don't deny things that are hard, but we can reframe them and we can process them in a way that serves us for our best thrival and our longevity lens. And so we talk a little bit about the science of releasing and diffusing, and what is the science around the importance of that, or how to think about the science that drives that, as well as the kind of practical how to. So one thing around the science is that our memory is, and I think we can all experience this when we have, multiple people who've lived the same event and have slightly different memories of it. We talk about it later in life. Memory is reconstructive. It's not fixed. So we are looking at events and reconstructing them all the time. And so when we're doing that, and we know that we're doing that, we have the opportunity to reframe how we see that event and curate how we feel about it with authenticity. So what does that mean? It means that you can look at it and say, okay, what did I learn from that event? What did I maybe sidestep because that happened instead of something else happening? But that is an active choice that you got to make and dive in. So memory is reconstructive. The second thing to always keep in mind is that our moods really color the memories that we give awareness to. So sometimes we're just in a sad mood, and that's part of processing life. And if we're in that sad mood, those are kind of the memories that are surfacing. And, I have got a couple of anecdotes with friends who just, when they're sad, the best thing they can do is listen to sad music and surface sad memories and just get the cortisol out of your eyeballs by crying and feeling that sadness and processing it. So keeping in mind that when you're pulling memories, your mood is curating those and then deciding if that is helping you process something or if it's holding you down and from releasing and moving forward. And that's just a kind of a decision in your own filter, but being aware of it is giving you the power to decide which way you want to lever, how that mood is influencing what you're experiencing. So the third point is that mood also then has a bias to what you're experiencing in the present. So keeping in mind when you're irritated, when you're high anxiety, when you're sad, you're going to naturally filter the things that are happening to you through that mood. And again, it's just an awareness. It's not a change it if you don't feel like you want to change it. It's more of an awareness that you're going to experience what you're experiencing with that mood filtering it and decide how much you want to internalize how you're interpreting those events based on the mood that's coloring them at that moment in time. Fourth one is healing and recovering from things that are hard and stressful and sad and fearful and painful and anger oriented, all the other emotions that are important and also can be exhausting, is to realize that the basic premise of time heals all wounds is a reality. And so we can't, physically change time, at least we don't think we can yet, but we can change how we move those experiences through the time spectrum by how much we engage with actively processing them. So when things are difficult, and there's many colors to paint difficult, if you want to move through it and kind of shorten the period of living in that difficult emotion base, actively processing it through writing, through physical, a lot of people process things through physical exercise, through therapy, but naming it and dealing with it and processing it helps move it through that time spectrum, that time continuum with a little more speed than just having it in the background, kind of always vibrating. And, that time heals all wounds takes a little longer in that context if it's not actively being processed by you in a decision mode to tackle the thing that is kind of back there vibrating. And then the last thing to keep in mind is just like savoring is a skill, it's an activity like learning a new musical instrument or language or lifting weights. Those are skills. Having a point of view shift is also trainable. So you got to decide how much you're going to react to traffic or irritating customer care phone calls that you have to make. I've been in like a week of really bad administrivia, like, health insurance phone calls, blah, blah, blah. And all of those things are part of life. And if we give them noise in our head to shift our mood, it is an inevitable reality of life that you've given weight to that it doesn't merit. So it may be irritating, but it doesn't merit taking your whole day offline, right? So that's more this idea that point of view is trainable. You can't escape the difficulties of life and the administrative frustrations of life, but you can control how you curate them and how you let them land in your physiology, in your psychology.